Evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday evening and it's week 2 of the Premier League show. I'm joined again with Jono and Rowan. How you doing, boys?
I am good. How are you guys?
Doing okay. Week 1 in the
I'm
books.
good. Nothing controversial happened this week. Nothing
Nothing to talk about at all. Nothing to talk about at all this week. It was just funny, it's quite funny, last week we were talking, is Harry Kane going and everything else? And literally, I think as soon as we hung up and shut down the podcast,
John
that
had
was
his
it.
dream. John had his dream that United were coming in last second, and then that instantly the moment we ended.
I have a new dream. We'll talk about that later.
We'll delve into that. It's amazing how quickly new dreams come along. But yeah, Harry eventually took the step to Bayern, which I think we all agreed was probably the best thing for him. And probably
then he lost the trophy on day one, but that's not his fault. That was
funny enough. My new dream also includes Bayern.
Oh dear. We'll definitely look forward to diving into that one. And Matty's back with us again. He's been watching already, so I'm glad you're coming back. So yeah, a bit of an interesting week. Week 1 kicked off. We actually got proper football back on instead of all the pre-season stuff. I must say that your Villa for 4th prediction didn't look too great in the first weekend. I think Newcastle.
I'm still sticking with it.
You're still sticking with it. Early first weekend.
My Wolves getting relegated theory didn't seem to look too well either.
No, there's a couple of bits and pieces, a bit surprising. But I suppose we might as well start with Newcastle because that was quite a statement win, I suppose, considering we were all talking last week. Will they fall off? Will they be the same team? Now, obviously, Champions League hasn't kicked in yet. They haven't got the extra games, but as a statement, as a starting point, you can't really expect much more from a team like that, can you?
No, Tonali's going to be one hell of a player.
Yeah, that's a hell of a signing.
I thought it would be a draw in the first 30 minutes. It was going back and forth. Newcastle scored, Villa equalized. It was and then Newcastle just took the lead. I was like, Villa are going to equalize at some point here. Then suddenly went bam, no.
I know they lost, but I think BRB is going to be a solid player. I think he's going to be class.
Yeah.
And then poor one of the first casualty we'll talk about today, Tyrone Mings has to get stretchered off.
Bad knee injury. It's still not quite. Is it come out yet? What it is?
I don't know if it's come out. I haven't seen.
I think I've seen serious knee injury, but that's all we've seen. But as you say, that's unfortunately going to be a running theme throughout most of this podcast and most of the stuff we're talking about.
Harry Maguire inquiry.
They'll come knocking to try and usurp the West Ham bid. Is that what you're reckoning?
Hopefully.
Well, there is no West Ham bid anymore.
Oh wow! I'm missing. I've not caught up yet. We might as well let's go back to Friday night. I suppose the baptism of fire that it was for Burnley. We as expected, Haaland gets off and running, scores a couple of goals. I'm sure everyone had him in his fantasy team. I'm sure everyone had him as captain. So we've all scored.
Kevin De Bruyne's legs broke.
Kevin De Bruyne hamstring sounds like he's out for a good few months. What we're hearing, you may have to have surgery, and who knows how long.
Why they're looking for Paqueta? They're looking at Paqueta as the temporary replacement from West Ham.
I think they were looking at Paqueta anyway.
Yeah, but now they're viewing him as the actual replacement. They're just like, now need him fully.
Oh, so they're really pushing for it. So yeah, that's it just seems like every game there was an injury to discuss and an injury to talk about, wasn't there? And is that because the preseason didn't go on as long? Is that because
I think it's a downside of last. I think it's still a hangover of last season with so many games. I think Varane tweeted about it before the season with these new rules and stuff. More minutes being played in most games. You're now asking players to play more.
Extended interview came out today on that. He's not happy. Varane is not happy about the new rules.
Oh.
And I think it's good. I think more players like that need
more like this.
Obviously, he's got such a background on him, what he's done as a player. I think more players of his caliber need to come out and say this. He was asked, is this going to affect your long-term, how long your career lasts? And he said, yeah, it is.
Yeah, he came out because he literally said that they've given their feedback as players for the last few seasons, but they keep getting ignored. So
yeah, and maybe it is. As you say, the new rules, players are playing for the game actually longer, more games. I suppose we're talking about City at the moment, talking about Kevin De Bruyne. They just played yesterday. They're playing again Saturday. It's not like they've been done any favours from the league, and I know it's always a tricky one because it's you're victim of your own success. Well, it's your own fault you're playing in the Super Cup because you won everything. But again, we've all known and we've all seen United had it a couple of seasons back when you were playing Thursdays and often you were playing Saturday evenings or whatever else. You don't get much change out of the Premier League, even if you're in Europe. So, and with these extra games and with these new laws, which we will talk about the new laws when Alex Simpson joins us. He's going to join us about 9:30, talk VAR and refereeing and some of these new rules and whatever else. We'll dive into it then. But it does seem like player health and player welfare doesn't seem to be high on the agenda, does it?
On that Burnley game, though, a bit of tension with Haaland and Pep at half time there as well.
That was interesting.
To be honest, most of that I think apparently is because Pep wanted him to go that way and pass that way rather than the other way he went. He's very systematic. You need to do it this way, even if you want.
He's very much a perfectionist, isn't he? And if you don't. And
speaking of what Matt Smith there said, Foden's an interesting one because from the last few seasons, I don't think Pep really rates Foden as much as everyone else does because he doesn't seem to use him.
I think he talks him up, but he doesn't seem to use him, does he? Yeah.
I think he just sees him as a bench option to bring on near the end. That seems what he used Foden for in most games.
Which is a real shame because
I've actually seen a few people this weekend saying that he should move. I don't know where he would go though. If he
he'd probably walk into most teams though, wouldn't he? But would he get?
I just think Pep has a system, and I don't think Foden really fits his whatever system he's trying. He doesn't seem to rate Foden in it.
I think Foden needs that almost free number 10 role, doesn't he? That Messi type role.
Because it keeps moving Foden to positions, and mostly he's playing him as a left wing.
And that's not him. I think most people can look at Phil Foden and go, he's not a left winger. I mean, yes, he's got a wand of a left foot, but that doesn't make him a left winger in any stretch of the imagination. I see him, as I say, that Messi floaty 10 role, that would be down to the ground where he could play, but Pep doesn't seem to want to.
Been a few now. Do you think, as a neutral, do you think Kevin De Bruyne is starting to become an injury-prone player?
Is he getting to that stage? He's what, 20?
You'd have to say because this is the same injury that he had in the Champions League final.
Yeah. So did he recover fully from it?
He had a few injuries and knocks last season as well. Is it
catching up with him?
What a player he's been the last few years in the Prem, but as we say, is it catching up? Do we think Paqueta is a like-for-like replacement if they bring him in from West Ham?
No. I don't think you can actually fully replace Kevin De Bruyne at his peak.
It'd be you'd need two players to do it because he gave you two things, didn't he? He gave you the midfield sort of moving the ball, keeping things going, the tempo and everything else. But then he'd also give you that cutting edge pass that nobody else could see.
The closest we had to a comparison of Kevin De Bruyne was one good. It was the first season of Bruno coming in where he was scoring goals and assists. He hasn't got that numbers against to match Kevin De Bruyne's assists since then.
It'll be the same as if we lost Bruno. That team's creativity would
it'd be like Liverpool losing Salah.
And that Arsenal team losing Odegaard from last season. They wouldn't be as high.
I've got a debate with Odegaard. That really annoyed me.
We'll get to that. Hang on, we're jumping all over the place. We'll get to it. We still haven't even finished the City Burnley game yet. So so as you say, De Bruyne goes down, Haaland scores. Burnley gave themselves a good showing and a good credit. I don't think looking at it, it's too worrisome for Burnley. I think they'll pick up enough points playing the way they played to be safe. From our early season prediction we said last week.
Burnley were naive that they were literally letting Ederson walk with the ball. Every time I saw Burnley lose their attack, they just let Ederson walk quietly out of his box. And you can't be doing that. You need to run at the man, make him pass it. Because he has been known to misplace a pass if you just run at the man.
He's been known to dawdle on it and get a tackle in or whatever else. Mane did it in
but there was one Manchester derby where he accidentally passed it to McTominay because we ran at them.
Yeah. So, giving him that sort of space and time is probably, it plays into Burnley's mindset, but it's not helping them. And then when I was watching it sort of in the background, I could see the crowd got right into it early on in the first half when they put him under pressure and he almost made a mistake, and it lifted the whole crowd and whatever else, which is what you need at Turf Moor. So I don't think they did themselves any favors, but certainly they looked strong enough going forward that
wasn't a vintage safe. City, but City get the job done.
Yeah, it's one of those. In the first game of the season, get the 3 points, get out with a win. Unfortunately, as what you would say in any first game is get out without any injuries. That was a fail on their part. And then moving through the rest of the games, Arsenal start with a win, but
looked shaky in the second half. To be fair,
looked a bit shaky, didn't they? They looked like they could be got at. Yeah.
The moment Elanga came on, caused them a lot of trouble.
I think Elanga's going to be a good player for them. I think Elanga could be similar to when Pereira left us for Fulham last year. He just wasn't. He wasn't good enough for us. But I think for Forest, I think Elanga can be a good player for them.
A brilliant goal by Saka. To be fair, I have to mention that.
It was a finish. It was a finish and a half. It's some power behind that left foot. I mean, it was obvious he was going to cut in. It was one of those don't let him cut on his left. But
I have no idea. I have no idea why Arsenal decided to play Thomas Partey as a right back, but more to them.
Who knows what Arteta was thinking? He's
and I'll mention I'll mention our second casualty of the weekend, Timber.
Yeah, he's gone down. ACL, I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, they're going to be out for a good few months now. So they'll probably have to go back in the market for a defender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's only just joined, right? He was one of their summer signings, wasn't he?
He's their new signing. He was he's their full. They're playing him as fullback, like a left back, is what they were playing him as. In that game.
Yeah. Another one gone down, and as you mentioned,
I do think Forest could have they had some chances at the end. I think they could have got something there, definitely.
I thought a draw was on the way they were really going for it towards the end, and as you say, Arsenal did look a little
that's what they get for relying on Chris Wood.
We did say that was going to be a struggle for Forest, didn't we?
Do you think Ramsdale loses his spot straight away now?
I could see it happening, and I could see it being a problem because David Raya isn't joining Arsenal to be number 2. That's not in his head. He said it before. He wants to leave for first team in a top 6 club.
Personally,
and Ramsdale does not want to be number 2 either at this point in his career.
Yep.
Personally, I think Ray is a better goalkeeper than Ramsdale.
Well, obviously Arteta does too. Otherwise, he wouldn't try to go out and get him.
I think there's going to be a fight between them, and when one gets,
it's going to come to a head at some point, right? It's going to actually.
It's the Dean Henderson situation when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer told Dean Henderson, "You're my number 1," and then David came back for a bit, and David got his place back, and then Dean got very angry.
Understandable, professional footballers, they get told one thing, they want to be out there playing. They don't want, you don't want to be sitting on the bench, granted being a goalkeeper at a Premier League club.
Especially an England goalkeeper, the fact that England's keepers aren't Pickford is who you're competing against, and you actually had a good run of form in a top 6 club you could get into.
Even with a new manager, on that situation with Buster, even with a new manager, Henderson, I'm surprised he's not left yet to anywhere, but or not.
Although Henderson said Henderson when he left, he said if the manager saw me play once, he would want me in that straight away. He said anyone would want me.
I don't want Ten Hag to see me because I don't want to stay
because I'm that good. He'll want me to stay and play.
Well, he's confident in his own abilities. You got to give him that much. And then Spurs without Harry seemed to do reasonably okay. I thought it was a bit of a ding dong battle. They particularly did a typical sort of Spurs, looked really comfortable, 1-0 up, but looking fine. Completely went to sleep for 20 minutes.
That's what I predicted 2-2.
To very much what you predicted as 2-2. So Brentford.
There's some good chance that they played really well. I really thought even
arguably
end of last season they'd miss Tony, but they're still scoring goals even without him.
And I think when Tony was out last season,
there was also a similar goalkeeping incident in that game where the Spurs keeper kind of took out the Brentford man.
This is what.
Yeah, we'll start. Hang on. I know Alex is watching. We could pull him in early if you want to, really, because you seem to keep.
No, I'm just saying that for when we get to topics later. Just a bit of an incident.
But another one to add to the list. Alex says there. Exactly. Arsenal want a ball-playing goalkeeper. I mean, is Raya that? He's certainly probably a little bit better than Ramsdale, I think.
I think there was a
Spurs wanted him as well.
There was a preseason.
We looked at him, but we didn't get him, and Spurs put an official bid in for him.
There was a preseason.
The funny thing on that,
preseason game for United that started this.
Hold on, John. Hold on.
The reason why they went for Real, it was a preseason game, United versus Arsenal. We completely shocked them and played them off the park in that game, which caused Ramsdale to make 2 mistakes. And after that game is when they suddenly started bidding for Raya.
Yeah, I thought it was like the Brentford game last season against Arsenal where Raya pretty much single-handedly kept Brentford in the game for most of it as well. That seemed to be a point where Arteta went, "Hang on a minute, there's something about that guy."
Because
you were saying,
Spurs bid for him. Yeah, Spurs bid for him as well, and it's really weird on that because Spurs had a 45 million bid rejected, and now he's going to Arsenal in the same window for I think it's 35.
But it's a loan with an option, right? Yeah,
obligation to buy it, but for less than Spurs' bid. So
it's not an obligation unless
he just did not want to go to Spurs.
Yeah,
it's not an obligation; it's an option to buy, which that turns into an obligation depending on games that he may play.
So Arsenal could get clever with that, and play him with just under the amount of games, and then sort of it's still an option rather than an obligation, which. Let's be honest, most teams would play around with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Although the director of football with Brentford says, I don't expect to see Raya back next season.
So he's going one way or the other.
Have they gone for a goalkeeper yet, Brentford?
I haven't heard anything.
No, I think they're just sticking with the
guy who was in. Interesting. Be
you guys want to move on to the El Caicedo?
It just seemed sensible. It seemed a great name for it, considering what was going on in the back and forth. I mean, an eventful first half, an enjoyable first half. The second half kind of petered out into
it was a lot of.
I
thought it was a good game.
It was a good game. It was back and forth. It was two teams in that, and as I said last week, I don't see a lot separating Chelsea and Liverpool this season, and that was a prime
example. We even had a lovely bit of VAR.
Lovely bit of VAR, one each, I think it was for VAR, wasn't it? Salah got one knocked off, and then Chelsea had one knocked off as well. So that was kind of balanced out unusually for Liverpool.
And then it checked the pen decision that was given not as a pen on the
Chelsea's new defender getting a goal as well.
Yeah.
Also almost giving away a handball, but he was saved by VAR.
Yeah, that was Jackson, wasn't it?
Jackson
that was
one, yeah.
Desi also I think was irresponsible.
Yeah, the handball was Jackson. I just watched highlights then. Yeah, the handball was Jackson. Did the right choice by the ref. I think on all 3 of those choices, that was a good reffing. I think on that game, I think all 3 of the decisions were right.
Although Jackson needs to work on his finishing, a lot of them he's hitting them over and over.
Yeah, I was quite surprised with some of the finishing I saw in that game because I saw a bit of him in pre-season. He looked really good, and I thought I think he'll kick on. But
it goes to show that preseason doesn't fully translate to actual
full
games.
Full Premier League speed, intensity.
I think they're going to miss Nkunku. I think he was going to be good. I think they're going to miss Nkunku.
Because he went down in pre-season with the knee injury.
It's okay. They don't need all those strikers because they got every midfielder in existence.
I think Diaz is going to be really good for you this season, though.
Yeah, if he can stay fit. I mean, he looked like he was.
He was last season. I said I had a Liverpool friend last season. I said Alisson and Diaz for the first half of the season were literally the only 2 Liverpool players that were actually keeping them in games and points.
Yeah, I really rate Diaz. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, we fell off.
And then Diaz got injured. Yeah, for quite a while.
Yeah,
and Nunes. I thought Nunes had looked lively in that game as well. I think
when he came on, he had a point to prove.
I think your attack is looking good. I just worry about that defensive midfield. You just brought
defensive midfield.
Exactly.
That's the problem, right?
McAllister's not defensive midfield.
It's okay. You're getting Wataro and Endo.
Endo. Somebody tweeted out today, and it's like, oh look, Liverpool fans are suddenly experts on Endo, and I was like, didn't he just sign for El Tafi or something? And it was like, just sort of tongue in cheek. Another one of those left field kind of Stuttgart 16 million. It seems to be going very quickly, and seems to. Why I was picking up, he was already having a medical, so a bit left field came out of nowhere. But we have to suddenly go and do a shock bid now, because as soon as we're interested in somebody, Chelsea come along and kind of throw extra money at them. So
bit of an interesting thing in that game was the little bit of a spat between Salah and Klopp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
when Salah got substituted, there was a bit of an I'm not looking at you angrily stare down.
Yeah. I know I've done something wrong.
Taking off his bandages.
Throwing his arm away. Yeah. And as Matty said, Saicedo and Lavia both on the market. I mean, we certainly we threw the money at the teams. We tried to get them.
The problem with Lavia, you were trying to get Lavia for more his value, so a bit cheaper than what Southampton wanted. But then you decided last second, because Chelsea then bid more for Lavia, so then you decided to do the same thing by actually bidding for Caicedo.
Yeah, it just seemed a bit like
that backfired because Caicedo said, "I've already promised Chelsea I'm going to Chelsea."
Yeah. And that was a kick in the teeth when it was like, Liverpool have had a.
But then Southampton then come back and go like, "So you did have the extra 5 million that you said you didn't."
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see why Southampton will go, well, we're not selling him to you now. But then, now, as you say, Chelsea are now stockpiling young midfielders.
Then they tried to get Elise, but Elise decided, no, I'd rather stay at Palace.
Yeah,
probably because at least he'll play football. Because he's got to look at Chelsea and go, where would I fit
They paid a release clause, and Elise said to Palace, give me a 4-year contract now.
Yeah, sign me up now.
Him and Enzo are going to be really good for Palace this season. On Chelsea, though, another injury. Reece James again.
Reece James,
funny stat.
Same kind of injury.
I saw a stat just before we went live. 36% of James's season starts came in the 18-19 championship season for Wigan.
Oh, that's a crazy stat. Almost 40% of his games have been for Wigan. Everything else has been stop.
And he's the Chelsea captain.
He's the Chelsea captain. He's the England default right back, and
when he's fit, I'd arguably say he's the best right back in the world. Sometimes when he's fit, if he's fit, he can be the best right back in the world. But it's keeping him fit.
It's getting him fit and staying fit. He can be fit for as you say, 2 games, but then he's got a niggle or he's got a knock. Interesting. Is he another one that's got, will he start to get that sick note tag if he continues on this reign?
Yeah.
And what about Brighton? How did you think Brighton did, considering, they've been poached left, right and centre and all half their team, whatever else? They turned up and didn't look like
it. It's okay. My boy Evan almost scores the goal of the season on day one and then scores a normal goal.
The guy from Watford as well. It's like, what's his name? Pereira.
Both 2 of their new signings scored, I believe.
Yeah.
Brighton.
Yeah, the striker from Watford, I can't remember his name, the Brazilian guy.
Pedro.
He scored on his debut. He's a good player. They just keep doing it. They keep finding.
They just keep finding them, don't they? Yeah.
They signed another 2. I think they signed 2 more centre backs from Leipzig and someone else this week. They're already saying in like 12 months going to go for 100 mil already. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I saw a report that they value Evan as the next British transfer record.
Yeah, I saw that as well. But I think you mentioned it. It's like, what will he do with himself? And an Irish guy going for that much money might be a little bit too.
Considering the most expensive Irishman is Nathan Collins, who went for broke his own record for just going for about near to 30 million.
Yeah. Speaking of it, I was literally just reaching out. It's seen as we've kind of touched on it a little bit. We are going to pull in our special guest for today.
Luton started off very low and into that game. Like they kept it very cagey in the first half. Brighton couldn't really do anything apart from score once in the first half. It was really the second half where it became Brighton just took over. But then they gave away a penalty. The only promoted side to score on week one, Luton, from the old penalty.
And he's the player who scored for them is the only player to score in all of the Football League.
He's done one of the kind of bottom to top ones.
He's done it in the first game. So he scored all the way from non-league all the way up to the Prem.
Nice one. You may well have noticed that Alec just snuck in there in a corner. Good timing there, Alec. I'm sure you've been listening. I saw you in the chat. So obviously we've been touching on VAR and we've been touching on things. So I appreciate you jumping on. I know Dan's kind of put you a little bit on the spot as our referee special rules guru. So we were going to get a special video set up so that we were going to go like a VAR check in place and we're going to send it to you upstairs. But unfortunately, we'll have to work on that.
The budget hasn't come for that yet. So I'm going to have to do the hand motions myself for you.
Going to VAR. How you doing, Chief?
I'm good. Successful weekend, I think, for VAR, wasn't it? I think we'd all agree. Successful weekend.
At all. Yeah, I'm not sure where.
Right, I'm off. Cheers, Leo. Thank you very much.
But it's like I tweeted out after on Tuesday, nothing controversial happened at all. You know,
nothing to talk about. Moving on. So first of all, the new rules. How do you think it's going to go? How do you think the first weekend was a success? Do you think it showed?
I think the offside one's going to be an interesting one as the season goes on, as they get tighter. I'm glad they did it. I was crying out for... So my background is I've not refereed for probably just over 3.5 years now, 4 years. Got to what we call level 4, so National League line, decent level in the middle. And then just kind of fell away, just work commitments. And my next step was to be fully committed. I'm all in. And then I was just at that age where I couldn't drop back down and then restart my career. So it was kind of one of those. And then I just couldn't go back to refereeing Saturday, Sunday morning football. So in terms of VAR and things like that, I've kind of seen it grow in the early stages. Still speak to a couple of referees now, still friends with them. And they, again, crying out for just a change in what they've done. So it's going to be interesting as the season goes on. And then the respect one, I think we're going to have a couple of months of pain with that one. Like the Maddison booking, I thought was really interesting. I'm sure we'll get onto it, but the Wolves booking after the penalty with the manager, I thought that was
the Gary O'Neill one. That was by the letter of the law, he had to do it, right? But considering what's happened subsequently,
it's been rescinded, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has it been rescinded? I was trying to look whether it had been rescinded. And I think, again, that's what you'll find with Howard Webb is that he's going to be a lot more controversial in what he does. So, like striking the 3 referees off, you wouldn't have seen that with Ellery last season because he would have just hid behind. With referees, there's nothing that goes wrong. We have to stand by our decisions, as well as I think Howard Webb's a little bit more modern to it. Well, no, you've made a mistake. You got to pay for your mistake.
Yeah.
So that's what
I suppose own up to it, and he did seem to be pretty quick to kind of tell O'Neill, that was a mistake. Sorry, we got that one wrong. I mean, I know it should come out in the wash, but that probably was even more of a kick in the teeth to Garrett to O'Neill saying it pretty much as the game finished, but. It's a long-term thing. It should balance out over the course of the season, I guess. But, from your point of view, what did you think of the decision that there's only one decision we're going to start talking about, right? Was it a penalty in your eyes? And if not, what possibly could have been the mitigation why it wasn't?
So I think the 2 incidents line up together. So that one at Luton and Brighton, I think if that's not given, and then the Man United one's not given, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, Man United one's still a penalty. But because of you look at those 2 side by side in the same week, and you're like, how can one? Because I do get
a similar thing happened in the Brentford game though, and they didn't. So it's just consistency. Like I admit
Consistency
it's probably,
from VAR.
I'm a United fan. I admit it was probably a pen, but it's the consistency.
It was a pen. It's not probably about it.
I mean, it didn't with the way VAR was going. It didn't look like VAR actually was debating whether it looked like they were just telling the ref to make the decision himself.
Yeah.
On the thing rather than that's what it looked like from like just watching the TV because it didn't really show too much of it.
That's my frustration as well. So as referees, we get marked, and in the Premier League, they get marked on every game. So every game they'll be observed, and that observation will be 3 hours after the game. The day after the game, they'll go through every clip, and literally it is monitored to how far you are away from the ball, the decision, what decision. Literally every decision is monitored. And where I really feel for Simon Hooper on this one is he didn't actually make the decision because I don't think he's seen it. Because I think the ball came across, he looked at his position, and then the ball's kind of pinged out, and then he's looked back and he's seen two players he's seen the goalkeeper on the floor, and he's seen the player on the floor, and he's gone, ugh. Wow, and then he must have asked VAR, and it'll be interesting. I don't think it'll come out, but the comms between VAR and Simon Hooper would have been really interesting to know what that conversation was, because it should be go and have a look at it.
Because I have noticed a few times in certain decisions that goalkeepers are surprisingly given more benefit of the doubt than a lot of other players in those type of decisions.
Yeah. It's because they moan the most, that's why.
Because we mentioned the Brentford game. The similar thing happened in the Brentford Spurs game. And last season, Edison did exactly the same thing for City.
Yeah.
On both occasions, they weren't pens.
And also saw a keeper where the Wolves keeper did the exact same thing against Leeds at one point last season.
Yeah, there's a history of doing it, I suppose, isn't there? And as you say, the keepers get a little bit extra treatment and a little bit special sort of cotton wool when they go.
All it needs is that rule to be adjusted that now they will penalize, which maybe they will now since the Onana thing is probably
maybe the uproar
like eyes to it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it was because it was. Sorry, I think it was because it became so. It was when anyone looked at it, everybody, even by the naked eye, most football supporters, even as you say, United fans are looking at that going, "That's a pen. He's literally taken a guy. He's not even got the guy who headed the ball. He's got some random guy next to him. He was late. He didn't. He eyes on the ball is one thing, but you've looked at rugby, you've looked at all the other things. Eyes on the ball doesn't mean you can just clatter somebody who's in the air with your arms and everything. And he was lower also than the players. He's reaching up to get and clatter these guys. And if he's going for the ball, then he should be up higher. As a goalkeeper, I'm sorry, you're able to jump and get higher with them with your arms up. He literally runs flailing into
which United fans,
the ball.
With United fans, we basically knew it was a pen, but then when everyone else got annoyed, then everyone was like, "Yeah, it's definitely not a pen. What are you just a rival? The usual pen. Not a pen, never."
It's one of those. We always got told going through the training, if it smells like a penalty, looks like a penalty, and everyone around you says it's a penalty, 9 times out of 10, guess what? It's a penalty. I just think it's a couple of things for me. Again, we're going to get a lot more of this because of the games now. We've made this weird decision with FIFA and the FA that they want games to be the full 90 minutes. So you are going to have 98 minutes of injury time, which is going to add on to mistakes, which is then going to add on to referee mistakes because you're asking the referee then to concentrate. It's going to sound really ridiculous, but for an extra 8 minutes of everything else he's got going on.
But the referee's also got to monitor the time and monitor all that as well as the game and everything.
Even this weekend, there was a few occasions I were going to the ref. It's time. You've said 97 minutes and it's 98 minutes already, and you've not blown the whistle.
So I think we're going to get more of that. And I also think there's a bit of a change of the guard as well. You look at the referees we've lost the last couple of seasons. So your Moss, Mike Dean of all. Kev Friend, they're all experienced referees that can handle that. And I think you're coming into a second season with a lot of young referees. So bear with it. I think it'll be for the next couple of weeks, and bear with VAR as well. I think there's quite a few new VAR refs. I mean, my personal opinion, I can say it because I'm not in the FA anymore, but I would have probably 3-4 referees that are VAR referees, and that's all they do.
Yeah.
Because then you get the consistency.
I'm going to ask you about that. You have a set of specific VAR referees for the season. That's what they do. I mean, I suppose it's a lot of games for them to do, though, wouldn't it? That would be
not way the games are spread out now because of the TV money. So you got to think on a Saturday 3:00 kickoff, you're probably going to have 5 maximum. Yeah, 5 is the maximum you're ever going to have. And then on Sunday, you've got 3 fixtures. And then in the week, you kind of have 1 or 2. So between 3, 4, 5 VAR referees, you should be fine. That way, you're going to should get consistency. They should be able to work the systems a lot quicker and easier. They know what they're looking for. And the communication, the big one as well, the communication from the referee to VAR, because with me, when I was out in the middle and I knew my linos, it was great because of communication, because we worked with each other. You get a new lino, you're like, oh, what's he like? Is he gonna? Yeah.
Is he gonna respond to jokes? Is he gonna be this?
So do you reckon we'll have more decisions afterwards where referees get shut out for a week to the side just to?
Yeah.
You think it'll be that? Yeah. And also just on that comms thing, I'm just thinking, I mentioned rugby earlier, and I know one of the things that's really good from the rugby union, if you watch the Premiership, is when there is that sort of, going up to the TAR, the TMU, it's clearly shared. You can hear the comms. Do you think it will ever get to that stage in the Premier League where the comms is open, or do you think that's probably opening the refs up a little bit to even more vitriol?
Similar to what I was about to ask. I was about to ask if, obviously now they're starting to do like half-time talks with the managers. Do you think that
they're starting to do that? They were doing that in Ireland for years.
Yeah. Do you think they could ever have more like TV interviews with the refs to justify their decisions that they make? For example,
I don't think that'll ever. No, I don't think you'll ever get that from the referee, just because of. Yeah. The FA the PGMO are so tight on what they want the referees to come out and say. And I think this is the idea of having the likes of John Moss. I think he's going to be, because he'll take the flak, Mike Dean, they'll take the flak because they're their type of characters that...
Teflon, they've got the skin on them after the years and years, haven't they? They can just let it bounce off them. Yeah.
I think there's a few places now where they're giving referees mics for when they go to VAR and stuff.
I think there's a two-pronged approach to this with the new laws, which this kind of approaching the referee, language towards the referee, and I think this is building towards, okay, we need to clear this up before we can actually start using this kind of using the footage, because of even if you go back, just go on YouTube and Google, I think it was an Arsenal game in like 1996, and like literally every word out of Lee Dixon's mouth is beat this, beat that, beat this, beat that.
Beep. Yeah, if you put that live on, Sky Sports or Match of the Day or whatever else, it'd be like, well, there's no point listening to the VAR conversation, because in the background all you can hear is you beep. Yeah, I suppose that's an interesting point. That's why they've put that in to maybe lead into sharing that sort of radio comms. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've seen the Women's World Cup.
They did VAR 1 or 2 there. I've seen that there was a mic in one.
All their games have been mic'd with the referee. So when they come out and make the VAR decision, it's not, I'm just pointing to the spot. It's, I'm awarding a penalty for handball.
I just want to pipe in there. Congratulations to the England women into the final as well.
Suddenly,
great story.
What a story. What a good news story that everybody needs to see, really. But yeah, absolutely brilliant news. Super proud of the Lionesses.
Today of potential replacing Southgate as well.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, the FA are definitely not willing for Verena to go anywhere. So fair play to them. I think we'll just bring that up. I mean, you might
to be nice. Devil's advocate, I'm going to say congratulations to the Spanish women team to also making.
Keep it sort of balanced, well played, and good luck to Spain for the final on Sunday.
Norwich girl as well, getting the goal and the assist.
Yeah, a couple of United girls in the England team. Mary Earps is doing,
Toon scoring one of the goals
nicely. Yeah, we could lead nicely from the women's support for Man United to the less the more controversial support that United are doing right now. Yeah, why not, right?
Can I be really controversial on this one and say I had this with Matty, and I made this point out with Matty on Twitter. The FA can step in at any time with the Mason Greenwood situation and say he's not going to be registered with any Premier League team.
Didn't they do that with the Sunderland guy a few years back? They wouldn't let him register. I can't remember his name now, fortunately enough, and that's not
the sad situation. The sad situation with that is that there wouldn't be any of this compensation if he didn't have talent beforehand.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why this has become a farce.
Yeah,
to this point.
I think the timing of United's statement didn't help. Semi-final, the Lionesses just get through, and then
it was a non-statement though. It was just like
it was a statement.
The statement
of
was
not paying anything.
the statement is like, we're done investigating. We'll decide at some point later.
But yeah, that's my view on it. The FA can literally come out and say we're not going to do it. Look what they did with Ivan Toney. What was he got? 8 months match ban for gambling, and you kind of like, how can you not have your own? That was an own internal investigation. That was an FA investigation. That wasn't kind of criminal investigation. So there's no reason why they can't have their own investigation and say, look, you're banned for X amount of years.
And
as you say, if it was
the game into
say
or whatever else,
if it was say someone from our academy who's not as good as him and is not going to make, for example, like let's just tell you a name, Chong. If it was him, no one would even mention it. It would have been forgotten about, if you know what I mean. It's like the way it's been dealt with is ridiculous for the club, and they should just release him, in my opinion.
Yeah. United are not doing themselves any favour by dragging it out. I mean, nobody's coming out winning on this one.
Do you think they're waiting for the decision on the ownership to make that decision?
I don't,
because the Glazers don't want to be the guys to make that decision.
No, what all the links have come out is that they've already made the decision. They're just delaying announcing said decision because it's a decision that pretty much most people don't want.
That we won't go too much into it, but say it was Qatar who bought us. Obviously, there's past human rights and women's rights in Qatar. So the fact that that's not the first thing they do, they won't want to do, is come out and say, "Oh yeah, we're keeping Mason Greenwood," because that goes back towards
like the touch paper, doesn't it, of everything?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the Athletic has already come out and said they pretty much have made that decision. It's just they don't want to announce that they've made that decision.
It's a bad situation for United, and I don't think the timing of their non-statement, as you call it, Ronan, we've made a statement, but we're going to make a non-statement about doing nothing, helped the situation because everyone was on a high in the UK from the Lionesses winning, and then you get this sort of statement, which was not exactly supportive of women and whatever else. So it's one of those horrible rumbling stories. Hopefully, it gets resolved soon and it's done and dusted, and we stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Alec, you got anything else from this week? I think we've touched on the main ones.
Yeah, I think again, unfortunately, I think you will see a few decisions of working through. I think there's the referees that are in that pool are quite young. I will say that Chelsea game, I think there was a few decisions on that, and I think they were all spot on. I think both of those offsides in the Chelsea Liverpool game, and the handball on Jackson. I think that was. I was going to ask you about the handball. What do we feel? Because I feel that handball probably 2 years ago would have been given as a penalty.
It's why when I saw it first, I was saying penalty on my screen. I'm like, that's a penalty.
Yeah, it's one of those 2 years ago when the ball hit the hand, it's penalty rule, which we all knew was too draconian and led to penalties being given for things which should never, as you say, doesn't smell like a penalty, doesn't look like a penalty. Nobody would really give that as a penalty, and a ball hits your arm off your knee or whatever else. Some of those were given in that first year, which shouldn't have been. I think common sense prevailed, if you like. Yes, it hit his hand, but it's not a deliberate move. It's not he's not made himself bigger, etc., etc. So I think common sense, and I think, as John has said, the decisions there, the VAR balanced out and got all of them spot on as far as I
thought. It's not very often we compliment VAR and the decisions, but I just think I think in that game it needs it, because I actually think all three decisions were right.
And it was used well. They took a long time over that handball, and that's my frustration with the Man United decision is they took a long time in that Chelsea game to get to the right decision.
Lots of replays of that as well, don't they? Yeah.
And then in the Man United game,
it's consistency of who's actually on it. They're just like, sometimes they do it very quick, which
and
people
again,
like
that probably goes down to what Alec was saying. If you've got 5 or 6 guys who are always doing it and always using the system, then they know how to zoom in quickly and they know how to find the lines, they know how to do it. Whereas
I think they got it wrong in the Brentford game as well.
People want it to be done quick, but then you do it quick, we get incorrect decisions.
Yeah, do you want it quick or do you want it right? I suppose that's the thing. And the consistency has to be, if you're going to spend time over it, make sure you get it right. And I think the United one, because of how many replays and how often he got shown and how many people were sitting there going, that's a pen, that's a pen, that's a pen, that's a pen, that's a pen. Oh, he's just kind of he just wandered off and left it with not even a free kick, and it was just like, yeah, just play on. What
the one thing I will leave you with as well is be careful what you wish for with the referees in the Prem, because I have a sneaking suspicion that at the end of this season, we'll see a few leave to go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, because the money's there, right?
The money's there, and they will need to up with the players they're having in. They will need to up their game in terms of refereeing.
Klattenberg's still the head of refereeing out there.
Yeah, and that talent
he's going to be on the.
I think that goes into another subject I wanted to talk about. Did you hear Saudi Arabia are in talks with having a club in the Champions League? They're not in UEFA, they're not in Europe, but we'll gloss over that.
Yeah, well, they won't have to adhere to the financial fair play rules then. How's that gonna? I can't see how
they would also have to. They would also have to take one of the other leagues' plays because the numbers wouldn't add up. They would need to take some places from other leagues.
Something like that. You'd have to come through a playoff or something. I can't see it. I can't imagine. I mean, money talks.
They'll probably find a way in that new ridiculous. I'm not going into that, but that new ridiculous Champions League format.
It's the European Super League Light. I've said this many times.
Yep.
Ali, do you want to hang around, or you're going to dig?
I'll shoot off. Unless you got any questions, happy to jump back on anytime, guys, with VAR or any decisions.
We'll get you a jingle.
Our referee.
I'm sure there'll be some dodgy decisions by refs this season in the league that we'll need your help.
I'm sure we'll call on you in a couple of weeks. We'll save them all up. We'll have a whole list.
Good show, guys. Anyway, I'm going to stay tuned.
We'll work on a jingle for you.
Yeah, we'll get you a special intro and everything. Yeah. Cheers, man. Speak soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So yeah, going on what you were saying there, John. I mean, I've seen the rumours. Yes, they want to come in. Yes, they got money. Yes, they're Saudi are playing 2 friendlies at Newcastle. That the sports washing is in full flow. Surely
they're not hiding it very well, are they?
I mean, I thought it was bad enough when Newcastle had an away kit last year that.
Yeah,
the Saudi Arabia national kit.
Now they're hosting the friendlies for the Saudi Arabia national team. It's like, way to hide.
Way to put that. Yeah, way to not bring that front and center. Yeah, the Champions League thing is just insane to me. I can't. How could that? Just how? I mean,
they'll be uproar because it will hamper teams further. Like, it's already very difficult for, like, say, an Irish team to get anywhere close to the Champions League or Europe.
The Welsh champion.
By allowing that, you make it even 10 times harder for clubs in Ireland and other smaller leagues to actually even attempt to get to the Champions League.
I think they've had accommodate that they've been told that there's a chance if they get the players in, they can do this anyway. Because if you look at the players they've got now, Neymar, Benzema, Ronaldo, these players aren't going to just leave playing Champions League football. So maybe they've been guaranteed. In a couple of years, we're going to be back in the UCL.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, deals and whatever else. We know that the Middle East and shady deals with football seem to be going hand in hand with the World Cup and all that sort of bidding. But it wouldn't surprise me that UEFA said, hey, there's a change, there's a shake-up in the Champions League format, as Ronan's just kind of alluded to. Who knows which teams get a point, or who knows which coefficient goes down and whatever else. And maybe we do need to start looking at bringing in El Latafi or whatever else. It'd be weird, but again, because it's a UEFA Champions League, would they then have to adhere to UEFA regulations, which then starts to question your FFPs and stuff like that. But then again, Chelsea and the FFP, they've got the loophole of, hey, we'll just buy players and capex them for 10 years, and therefore
we haven't spoken about
we can get away.
We haven't breach yet, have we? They've been investigated by.
You see the Simon Jordan.
Jono, that's our next topic. The old transfer roundup. We can get into an FFP talk.
That was a nice segue straight into the transfer round, and the Liverpool.
So Chelsea have been investigated by the Premier League for FFP in the Abramovich era. I think they've got the wrong era.
They've got the wrong one. I mean, I think. Did you guys see the Simon Jordan sort of explanation as to how Chelsea are getting away with it? And when you say it like that, it's like, well, that's how they can do it, and there's a loophole there, obviously. And I know that there's the Premier League and everybody's kind of clamped down on that and suddenly go, next year you can't do that. But it's like, okay, that's next year. You've already let them do it this year, and they've signed, as we've said, every single young midfielder for 120 million over 10 years. Of course it's fine, because they're only paying them 12 million. It's then, 12
I do think
million
they're
a year
signing
is
the
easy,
wrong positions, though. I think they need to sign another striker, because they can't just rely on just Jackson for it most of the season, because Nkuku's going to be quite a bit before he gets fully back to match fit.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, what do you guys think about this Chelsea thing? Are they just clever enough to find the way around it? I mean, is it a loophole?
No, this is very suspicious. The players that they sold are to the Saudi League. Part of their investors are the same people that are connected to Newcastle, and suddenly they sell all the people that no one else wanted to the same pretty much Saudi team. And I'm saying something there is not adding up. We're getting 1 and 1, and we're getting 4 there, and I'm not.
The Premier League, if they're looking at the books for the Abramovich era, they're not going to look at the books the last couple of years, and they'll find something, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they'll find anything. I think they'll just find that Todd Bowley and his lawyers looked at it and went, okay, well, look, we can do this as a business, and we can offset our business assets as, depreciate our business assets. And that's what players are in the end, and therefore we capex all of our spend, and therefore you appreciate it.
And like I said, they have that very, what you couldn't say, suspicious links to the Saudi government, that they can just instantly, a player's not good enough, no one wants him, to Saudi Arabia with you.
Saudi Arabia for a profit of 20 million. Yeah. And that's a direct profit on the bottom line, which goes against the FFP. It's like, it's a win-win for them. As Matty says, everyone was kind of giving Chelsea going bankrupt. It was only last season, anything about it, when the Ukraine thing and they got locked down and all the Russian money got sort of locked. It was like, Chelsea could go bankrupt. Chelsea could go out of business. Yeah. Yes, they're splashing the cash now, and it seems obscene, I suppose is a word for it. The amount that they're throwing around.
More money in the last 2 years than La Liga. Than La Liga.
I think he bought a lot of the wrong players. I think this year they've done a bit better. Todd Bowley is getting some of the right players this year. Last year he got pretty much all of the wrong players with that money.
Yeah, they did a Tottenham, didn't they, when they had loads of money? Hey, Bo, thanks for jumping in, man. Good to see you. Bo is a big at Let's Talk supporter, and I appreciate you jumping in. He's a long way over. He's in Seattle right now. I know he moved back recently. It's nice for you to jump in and say hi. We need to catch up about the NFC West as well, Bo. So I mean, Chelsea are doing a loophole. Obviously, we've got a few other, the Liverpool, Caicedo, Lavia transfers. Any other sort of transfer rumblings? I haven't really caught up this week. Anything other than I'm just banging my head against the wall.
Wataro, the most brilliant CDM currently, that just popped up out of nowhere.
Rumors of Gravenberch.
Yeah.
Jono, what is your dream this week?
My dream this week is Gravenberch. I wanted him
coming back to join Ten Hag, is it?
I wanted him last summer. He's a class player. He was really good at Ajax. He's not broken into that Bayern team. And I still kind of think we need someone to cover Bruno in that 10 role. Because you've got Mount and him, and I think you still need cover between them two, because Eriksen,
especially with those new rules of where you complain that Bruno's main part of his game is now and again complaining to the referee, and I could see him picking up 1 or 2 yellow cards that are going to get him banned.
Extra yellows until he catches on and goes, I can't do that anymore.
And I'd love Gravenberch. There's talk it could be a loan with an obligation to buy. which could get around us having to sell players this summer. Because that's the talk at the moment. Because we want Pavard from them as well. But because of the Harry Maguire deal at the moment have fallen through because of the payout, because he wants to be paid out, which a lot of United fans are complaining about. But if you sign a contract, you're not going to just want to.
It depends on the money. There's a lot of different fees. Like I can understand 6 and 7, those ones that are out there, but like the ones that go like 10, 15, I'm like, you're going a bit.
I saw something.
It's the clubs and then Footwood's fault for giving him that stupid contract in the first place.
Because if it's 15, you're asking for half the transfer, which is just ridiculous in the whole.
But then again, you see, I think his contract states that he should be getting, because they are a Champions League this year, he should be getting X amount a week, right? And then if he moves to West Ham, he's going to get obviously not that per week.
I would have done.
It doesn't add up to 15 though. That's the
no. I think it adds up to 7 or something. And you know, you could probably expect, from a United point of view, they could probably just go, all right, we'll give you 7 million. Thanks very much. Be on your way.
What I would have done is obviously they had a double bid rejected for Scott McTominay and the bid for Harry got accepted. I would have accepted the double bid, but said because we're accepting both bids, you're doing the payoff to Harry Maguire because you're getting Scott McTominay for 15 million less on the value.
But you see, West Ham don't want to do it at all. West Ham are pretty much working on a budget, from what I've understood, for their business.
Yeah, but they're not gonna throw 7 million away.
They're trying to get multiple positions budgetly because they want an entire new team of players in different positions. But so they're trying to stretch out the 100 for like 11 positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon, I know we talked about it, Jono, last week. Do you reckon you're still in the market for somebody else? Do you think Amrabat's coming?
I still think
it's possible.
I still think the Amrabat deal will happen. That's the only one I'm confident about because
even though we are now coming in for
Fabrizio said
that came from what I don't think of why I didn't believe that is because it came from a Dutch paper about a Moroccan in Italy.
Because it's obvious he's waiting for. He's rejected a contract offer from Atletico Madrid, Saudi Arabia, Juventus, and apparently Liverpool because he's waiting for us.
It's just an interesting.
But we need to sell.
I wouldn't say a Dutch paper would have the exclusive.
As soon as they get rid of Donny, that's the talk. They need to get rid of Donny, and obviously they've already got rid of Fred to bring Amrabat in.
Although the caveat about Donny is apparently the Real Sociedad thing is at an impasse at the moment, so gonna have to go somewhere else for that man.
Send him back to Ajax.
Ajax will probably take him back, right? On the cheap, probably.
Yeah.
So, boys, week 2 is about to come about. What game are you looking for this week?
I'm looking for Mr. Money, Pep Guardiola, Newcastle. He was complaining after winning the Super Cup, saying that. Thank you so much, Premier League, for letting us play on a Saturday and not Sunday or Monday. Thank you very much.
I did like that. Yeah, that was quite a pointed thing. So yeah, you wonder whether or not that's going to come back and bite them. I mean, obviously, Forest Sheffield United. Are we talking a relegation clash straight away? Is that already got sort of relegation written against it? And whoever loses that one,
a hard one.
It's a hard one. Week 2, right?
It's not hard to me because I put Sheffield United is finishing dead last, so Forest win this comfortably for me. It's the only game that they win comfortably, in my eyes.
Fulham Brentford should be a cracking game.
We would have also had Luton, Burnley, but Luton decided that their stadium isn't quite ready.
Not ready yet. So that's been bounced, isn't it? Yeah. First home game for Liverpool against Bournemouth. I think should be a pretty straightforward home.
Will it be 9-0 again? We will see.
Yes, I went 1-0 Forest against Sheffield United.
Yeah, it's not. I don't see that being a high score.
The Liverpool one was weird because it's the one where you had like your bad start, like last season, where you lost where you didn't have good results in the first 3 games, then you completely annihilated Bournemouth, And got poor Scott Parker banned and thrown around Europe for a bit.
What is he doing now? Yeah. What do you reckon in your Man United Tottenham game? How do you see that one? Traveling down to Spurs. Spurs got
last season United's away record in the top 6, not the best. As in, we didn't win any of the closest we got to winning a top 6 game was the Spurs game where we went 2-0 up and threw it away in the second half to 2-2.
I think we'll get it done. Like there was a lot said about that Wolves game, but as me and Boom have spoken about this, Wolves have always every team has a
Wolves have been
team.
our bogey team.
They've always been our bogey team.
If you look at the historic games against Wolves that we've had in the last few seasons, everyone has been like very like United not playing that good.
Man City's bogey team, Spurs.
Yeah, everyone's Alec coming in with a hot take here.
Newcastle will beat Man
City. I could see it, Klopp.
Ooh.
I could see it. Pep has already brought out the excuses of the fact that it's a Saturday. Newcastle looked pretty good in the other game, so I could see them.
If it was St James's, if it was
3-3 last season.
I'd give Newcastle the edge if it was at St James's, but I think they might not. I mean, it's a hot take. Why not?
You know what's a tough game for me to decide at this weekend?
I've gone 2-2 in that game.
From what I've seen in the Man United game, Wolves Brighton.
Wolves. I don't know what to call that.
I've
almost got it. Brighton just edging it by the odd goal.
I've gone Brighton 3-1.
I think I see Brighton just edging it, but Wolves surprised me
because they look really good, but they can't finish.
Can't score. They can't. They're really good up to that last third, which is going to be a problem for them all season, I think.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Villa Everton, both teams that need a win?
Definitely, Villa really need a bounce back, don't they?
I've done 2-0 Villa.
And then
Chelsea
we have the first London derby of the season.
Oh, but yeah, it's gonna. Well, it's not. It's the second one because Fulham Brentford is earlier in the weekend.
Brentford are on their own. They're the bees.
But yeah, that West Ham Chelsea should be pretty tasty for a Sunday afternoon. I should imagine that London Stadium will be absolutely rocking. And then you've got Palace, Arsenal on the Monday night as well. So a couple of London games going on there.
I think Chelsea will go out against that game, and I think they'll get quite a few goals.
I think Arsenal win 3-0. I think Arsenal win the Palace game.
Yeah, I do. I think Chelsea win the West Ham game. Villa, I think, bounce back. The City Newcastle game could go either way.
It could be a draw in that way. It was a draw last year, that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got you holding Tottenham to a draw, Tottenham holding you to a draw. I don't know how you want to look at that one, but
it could be similar. It could be similar to last year, where we take the lead in that game and then second half.
We have also got
Spurs fight back at home, with their home crowd.
That's it there, yeah. New manager.
We've also got the Let's Talk Sport Prediction League and Fantasy Football League as well. Make sure you jump in them.
All over those, we'll no doubt we'll retweet them again and we'll get the instant link out there. We'll
put them in the bio of the YouTube as well.
It's in there. So and speaking of YouTube, please make sure.
Spurs predictor.
Are you number one?
I'm the only one that got the Spurs dead on.
It's early days yet. But yeah, you are. Hang on, who's?
I'm number 2 in the league as a whole.
So it's Franco 711. I'm not even sure who that is. Grant from South Africa. Wow, showing us up. Well played, Grant. You smashed.
I think that's someone from my Twitter space.
Someone from your side. Fair enough, boys. Been another great show. Anyone who's been tuning in, thanks for your comments. Thanks for joining. Please do like, subscribe, hit the button underneath on the YouTube. Dan's trying to push this up, so please do share this far and wide.
Playing Fantasy Premier League, remember Captain Haaland, otherwise you're completely...
Captain Haaland, otherwise you're going to suddenly be right behind. Everyone's going to scream away from you.
Definitely.
Another great show. Well, I look forward to speaking with you guys next Thursday at the same time.
Hopefully we have no VAR controversies to talk about. Nothing's happened.
Yeah, that's what we're assuming. Not at all.
No WWE happens in the field.
Well, it depends on how Anana gets.
I will be replaced for next week because I am working.
Oh, we're going to have to get a special guest in, are we?
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get Dan on that case. And I hope it's not too busy for you next week. Ronan, you and I will be here, same time, same channel.
Yeah.
Until next week. Take it easy. This has been Let's Talk Sport, the Premier League show. We'll see you next week.